Well, hi, and welcome to the Effective Teaching Podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for coming and joining me here as well. Today, I wanted to chat to you a little bit about a new system that's in the news. It's been all over the place lately. I'm going to talk to you about ChatGPT, but I want to specifically talk about how it can help you save time and all the benefits about it. I know we're all a bit worried about what it means for our students and what the work they're doing and copyright and all that kind of stuff. But today I specifically want to talk to you about how ChatGPT can be used by teachers for what we're doing. And if you're someone who's overworked, this is going to be a great episode to help you kind of look at ways to use it to save you some time. But I actually have a book that's designed to help you save time. It's called Work Less, Teach More. And if you would like to grab a free copy, I just ask people to pay for postage and handling. Just head over to TeachersPD.net. There'll be a button on that homepage somewhere that takes you to get a free copy of the book, and that's an easy way to remember where to go. But today, ChatGPT, over the summer holidays, I heard a lot about it. People were chatting about it. People were interviewed all over the place about how they're using ChatGPT. I heard people talk about how they're using it to write their website articles, how they're using it to write their sermons for church and stuff like that on Sundays. People using it to write speeches, people using it to write songs, all kinds of stuff. And teachers started to get really worried about students who are going to use it and how we're going to know if the students are submitting their actual work or if they've cheated or something like that by using ChatGPT. And so, just quickly on that kind of stuff, generally speaking, we've always had issues like this. If you send assignments home with students, we always have issues of, did the parents help and do stuff? Maybe an older brother or sibling, did their tutor maybe do stuff for them? Or perhaps they've paid for someone else online to come and do it for them. And so there's always been this element where someone could be getting someone else to do the work. Now that someone else just happens to be a piece of software. And we're worried about how we can work out whether or not it's that. There are software that can work out whether or not someone's used ChatGPT to create their assignment. Just Google that and it'll come up. But today I want to talk about how we're going to use ChatGPT as teachers. And personally, I'm really excited. At the Effective Teaching Conference that I ran during January, sometime 16th to 20th, I ran it. I had a teacher come on the first day who presented on ChatGPT and AI and how it's impacting the classroom. And one of the things I loved when I was chatting to her before she even gave her presentation, she was talking to me about how she uses ChatGPT already. And she uses it to write drafts for all kinds of stuff, drafts for school policies. So she can just ask ChatGPT, please write a school policy on workplace health and safety for New South Wales schools, based on legal requirements. It's a private school or it's a public school, or you can put in the details. And it then wrote out the policy for her, which she then went through and edited and adjusted for her school. But the draft and kind of basis was given to her, and that saves her lots and lots of time looking things up and trying to work things out and writing things from scratch and finding other people's examples and adjusting those. And so a simple way, if you're a leader at the school and you're writing school policies, that you could benefit from ChatGPT is to ask it to write things like your policies for you or your procedures. Any kind of text document you can start to use ChatGPT for. And when I say that, I do mean just about any kind of document. I did some trials myself with ChatGPT. I asked it to write me a lesson plan using the 5E approach or the 4E approach, or I can't remember how many E's it is, but the explore, explain type process. And the software just went through and it wrote out my lesson for me. I told it what subject matter it needed to be on. Write it on a lesson that had to do with Shakespeare, or a lesson on Macbeth, or a lesson on just introducing World War II. And it went through and wrote out the lesson for me, which I looked at and I was like, this actually looks pretty good, right? And so I could take that as my base for my lesson, adapt it slightly for my students, for my context, maybe find some extra resources that I could use, or I could actually ask ChatGPT, can you recommend 2 or 3 resources that are appropriate for 14-year-old students to be looking at, and it will then list out a few references for you that you could possibly use with your students. And I think that kind of stuff is actually going to be very beneficial for us as teachers. You can start to use ChatGPT to write all kinds of stuff. So I know here in New South Wales, we have your HSC exams, so end of school exams that are done across the entire state, and all the students get ranked, and they use the ranks to then enter them into university and stuff like that. But kids stress out about this, and teachers spend a lot of time prepping things. We might find HSC exam questions, and then we'll spend some time walking students through, what does a good answer look like? What does a bad answer look like? We'll look at the marking criteria and break it down, look at sample answers that our government have given us that are based on, previous people who wrote the exams and that kind of stuff. And it's a lot of content that exists there. And now I can actually say to ChatGPT and just say, do you know what? Can you please write for me a new HSC style question for whatever subject? So my subject is PDHPE. So write a new HSC exam question for that. And then say, I would also like you to write the marking criteria for it and a sample answer that would achieve the top mark from the marking criteria. And ChatGPT will do that for you. It can create these kinds of things for you. And so suddenly now I have a sample question, a sample answer, and some marking criteria that I can work through with my students, and they can critique the AI system and go, well, has it done a good enough job? Does this well represent the types of questions that exist in the HSC, all that kind of stuff. And it enables me to actually go into a good depth of thinking and critiquing and critical analysis with my students, which I think is amazing. So this kind of benefit, we're looking at things that are going to save us time searching for things, trying to find other people's stuff, paying people to do things. You could possibly even ask it to do your trial exam for you, for example. You could go, so we do a practice exam basically that's worth 30% of their mark. Their HSC exam at the end is worth 50. And so for the trial exam, people often buy other people's ones. And now we can actually start to go, well, do you know what? I need to create a question for this and use ChatGPT for that. Other things you can do is just get ChatGPT to create resources for you. So if you're teaching World War II or World War I or ancient Egypt, or if you're teaching, you're introducing students to Shakespeare and you're introducing them to Hamlet or something like that, you can actually ask ChatGPT to create. Can you please write an introduction for me for students who are 17 years old, so they get the idea of the context around which Shakespeare was living, and looking at Hamlet, we're going to introduce them to Hamlet, who are the major characters, what kind of context that the students need to learn so they better understand what's happening in the play. And ChatGPT can create this resource for you and type it up for you right in front of you. And so there is so much time for us as teachers to be saved here. I even tried once to get it to mark something for me. And so I gave ChatGPT a question, a sample answer, and the marking criteria, and asked it to mark the sample answer. And it did a great job from what I could see. It told me what mark it got and told me why. And basically the why is coming from the criteria I gave it. But it did a good job of giving me a base mark that I could then maybe change a little bit depending on what I see in the question or whatever. And I'm not saying that you should do your marking using AI. I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing. But it is very capable of doing some amazing things and analyzing some really cool stuff. And so I think that we should not be totally fearful of things like AI, and ChatGPT is one of those AIs. We should be looking at how we can actually use this as well, because students are going to use it. They've always used the latest technologies for various reasons. You might, for example, decide that you're going to put your assignments in class, but maybe you might give them something from ChatGPT. So do you know what? Ask ChatGPT to answer this question for you. I want you to read through their answer and improve it. I want it to be better. I want you to include better references, because ChatGPT is actually trained off everything that's more than 2 years old. So anything that's come out in the last 2 years, it doesn't know. And so that would be something that you could ask your students. All right, I want you to go through the last 2 years worth of stuff and critique what ChatGPT has given us. And you could use that kind of higher level thinking as a process in your classroom. You could use it for your assessment task, possibly, if it matches up with your outcomes and that kind of stuff. But we can now use an amazing piece of software to generate all the resources we need. We can use it to help us with our lesson plans. We can use it to help write our units of work, our programs, our assessment tasks. We can use it to help write our policies. We can use it to help write resources that we're going to use in our classrooms. If you need to write letters home to parents and you want to make sure you create something that's appropriate, culturally appropriate for your particular area where you are, you could ask ChatGPT to possibly do that for you. You could ask it, and obviously it's giving you drafts, right? I'm not saying that you should just copy and paste ChatGPT, right? I wouldn't tell my students to do that either, but it can give you your draft and then you can adapt and improve it before you use it. And that is going to save us a massive amount of time as teachers. We spend so much time searching the internet trying to find resources or trying to create our own resources. And I see ChatGPT as something that's actually going to save us a ton of time if we use it well and if we train it well. Because the thing with AI is that it's trainable. And so the more you use it, the better it gets. And so if you're training up ChatGPT, for example, on marking criterias and sample answers and stuff like that, it becomes really good at that for you. And then you can then juggle around with that in class with your students, and you can use it for whatever you're doing in your normal time too, like your planning and all that kind of stuff. You can say, well, I'm training you up in how I create my programs and units of work, and just because you're going to say, and you just give it all these specific things. You might say, I really want there to be a 30-minute section in this program where the kids are exploring the topic on their own to get a bit of an idea of what they can find on this topic, just kind of get a base kind of familiarity with it. And then I want you to create for me a few pieces of text or maybe some scripts that I could read for a video that I'm going to use to talk about how I might be able to use ChatGPT in the school classroom. Now, I did not do that for this podcast, but maybe I should have, because it probably would have given me some fantastic tips. So I think as teachers, we need to worry less about the development in the technology. I think there's definitely ethical things that come into it for great discussion with your students. There's definitely things that you can use it for critical thinking and analysis and higher order thinking. And you can get lots of examples of things from it, which I think is fantastic. I think it's going to help us a lot. We can actually ask ChatGPT to create, show me a fantastic report comment compared to a basic report comment and a terrible report comment that would never get sent home. And it might be able to create those things and then tell you why they won't get sent home even. So we can train it to be used how we want to use it. And I think it's really important for us as teachers to embrace it, at least at some level, so that it can actually reduce our time, help us with our work processes, and possibly improve what we're doing in our classrooms. And it's not going to improve because you just say, well, create this for me and I'm going to go and just teach exactly what it says. You want to make sure you're using your professional judgments and critiquing it yourself, but it can save you a lot of time in finding those resources and creating those resources and writing the programs out. And I think that kind of stuff is going to be amazing for us going forward, particularly as it continues to improve, because AI is going to keep getting better and better. And ChatGPT is just one of the first ones to make it big in the news because it actually is really good at what it does. And so rather than getting so scared and worried about, I think we should embrace it and start to have a look at it. So for those of you who haven't been using it at all, let me encourage you, go and create an account with ChatGPT, log into it and just see what it can do for you. Ask it to do something. Maybe ask it to write your lesson for tomorrow or your lesson for later this week. So that it'll write it. It takes it like 10 seconds to write your lesson plan for you. And then you can look at it and go, right, I'm going to bring that over here. I'm going to adapt it slightly. I need this resource created. So ask ChatGPT, can you please write a resource for me that's got this many words, so maybe 300 words, for example. You could say, please write it in a language that can be read by a 7-year-old, and it will then adapt the language for you as well, so that it's readable for a younger student, not in language for an older student. Everything, it's so adaptable and so beneficial for us to start using it. So let me encourage you to just go and fiddle around with it, give it a go, see what it can do for you. Test it out with some marking, test it out with creating some sample answers, test it out with creating resources or writing you a lesson plan, writing you a program. Just give it a go and see what it comes up with and enjoy the process, learn from it. And then, because actually the more you use it, the better you'll be able to do stuff with your students about it as well. And when they're giving assignments and they want to use it and you're like, well, use it for this way, but not for that way. And, make sure you actually get it to do this. And, you need reference lists, but check those reference lists because the ChatGPT has actually been known for creating and making up a reference that doesn't actually exist. So do be mindful of all those things, but embrace it and see how it goes. See what time you can save by playing around with ChatGPT for a bit. Well, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this session. I haven't done demos or anything of ChatGPT here, but if you go and have a look, it's not difficult to use. If you are looking to save time even broader than this, my book, Work Less, Teach More, How to Be an Effective Teacher and Live a Life You Love. That's the full title. It's available on Amazon if you want, or if you just want to pay postage, go to teacherspd.net and you can click, there's a button there to go and have a look at getting a copy of the book for free, and you just pay for postage and it comes out to you. Well, that's it. Thank you so much. I look forward to chatting to you again next week.